Well, and every business should be a marketing company first.
Getting to $1 million revenue in a business is harder than getting to a $10 million revenue.
I will pay you to let me do it,
Yeah.
and then just give me commission on the back end for sales. But like,
It's not to say AI is just going to take it over entirely and you don't need to do anything. There's still some human aspects there.
but I could talk to it and be like, hey, where's the closest, restaurant? And it'll just take me there right now through the seller financing route.
Yeah.
Okay.
The,
and seller
the
financing-
owner that is selling it has a lot more upside doing it that way. And I obviously have more upside doing it that way than rather than having to try to figure out banking, finance.
Walk us through seller financing, because a lot of people talk about it. Like I see a lot of like trendy TikTok videos, Instagram videos who are like, hey, can you do seller financing? And you even hear that in business, like business acquisition too. Like, hey, can you do seller financing in a business?
Yeah.
Walk through what that means for people.
So seller financing, in essence, the person becomes the bank. And so it's no different than if we did it through a bank, in the sense that there's still paperwork drawn up. There's still usually a note that's there legally filed with a amortization schedule, just like you would from real estate. So I learned a lot with my real estate side about that. I knew nothing about real estate. And so therefore kind of, I honestly had to start the podcast just because I was like, I need to get into real estate. So let's just have all my clients and people that are in this industry on my podcast. And I'm just going to straight up ask some questions and get into it. So kind of took a leap of faith. That's another motto, story wise for me, as far as born fearless. And we can talk about that, but, got into it and then realized that these markets and these rates right now, because obviously inflation hit, are just astronomical, and your net operating income and things like that just were not matching up. And so finding a deal was kind of difficult. The idea you could just go take a house that was trash, go fix it up, flip it, and then improve that value based upon this new appraised value was really, really difficult to do right after our first one that we got. So we did it once, but then after that, everything kind of came crashing to a halt. Mm-hmm. But started figuring out, hey, for a few people out there that are interested in selling, a lot of times if you're going to go sell $1 million, $2 million worth of property that you've been sitting on, if you get all that in one lump sum, obviously we have a progressive tax system in America. You obviously hit a huge tax increase because you're going to jump tax brackets for that year type of scenario, right? However, if you were to sell it from a seller financing deal, which means you're now being the bank, no longer legal owner, obviously it would default back to you just like a bank would. So you're still a repercussion aspect and a safeguard. But from that perspective, you were taxed, and most people don't realize this, taxed at a lower rate on interest than you are principal. And so again, you just go to a lawyer and say, hey, this is what we've worked up. They just do all the legal paperwork, the amortization schedule. Okay, what's your interest rate? You do it just like you would a bank kind of scenario. Mm-hmm. But in essence, the other person's making the fees and you're not paying fees to the bank. And so in this case, they end up making more money for two reasons. One, their tax bracket's going to be way, way less because you're not going to jump tax brackets as quick. You kind of get a steady income in that sense as a seller. But again, you're also making that additional money off the interest of you being the bank. And so you end up coming out, if you're willing to wait, 5, 6, 7 years, a whole lot more money at the end of the day and a whole lot less money you paid in taxes.
Yeah. So basically what could happen is someone has a house and someone's like, hey, can I sell or finance with you?
Yeah.
What would happen is they could take over, say there's still negative equity on the house. They could take over the mortgage, quote unquote.
There is that part. This has only worked when people have owned, especially from a property standpoint.
Okay.
When people outright own it. So I've done that twice. If someone actually has a mortgage, that's called, it's called something else. There's a lot more, there is some aspects where you can kind of take over someone's mortgage in that sense for sure. There's more nuances with that. I've never attempted that. Something to, I forget what the term is there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not that necessarily. It's something usually someone out. And so
paid off property.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, do a 10-year, 30-year mortgage.
Typically, they're not going to do 30, but
so seller financing is a shorter period of time.
Usually, it's a shorter period of time because the commercial realm, your loans a lot of times are only like a 5-year, 5-year loan, and then they're going to you're basically going to refi it probably is what the banks think. So a lot of times it's a 5-year arm. Usually, they might do an amortization schedule as if it's a 20-year loan, but the loan, and it's, as far as the math goes, but the loan itself is only going to be 5 years. So. For example, the ones we've got, that was the crazy part, is the most recent one we picked up over in Ratcliffe, Kentucky, actually, was the idea that we got the guy to agree to a 20-year fixed rate term though, which was, you tell anybody that in real estate and they're like, how did you get a 5% 20-year locked term, loan type of scenario? And I don't know, we got the guy to agree to it at the end of the day. And it was like, I can't say no to this. And it was only like 10% down as well. So like, I mean, they hadn't been touched. So they were kind of, they weren't trash or anything like that, but they just hadn't been touched. And so when I see something that has been touched, but I can then put money into it, elevate that value, and now you're gaining even more difference between how much you put into it versus how much it's worth now. There's a lot of equity there to be gained. And so I see that as well within my other businesses I've done within insurance. And so we just, over the summer, got our biggest deal yet from a seller financing deal. And a lot of times that can be more opportunistic for business owners, not necessarily real estate. I feel like real estate's a little bit harder to find real estate people that just outright own the property as a whole. But the business owners, that's a lot easier of a story. And so we went into this one meeting with the agency we purchased over the summer where they wanted 100% paid up front. So we went into the meeting and they're like, hey, we want 100% paid. We lay out those things I just talked about, and they agreed, and we left the meeting with them agreeing to 100% seller finance it. So we didn't even have to put a down payment on the book of business, and they're going to get a steady income check for the next 6 years at a certain rate that we worked out and make more money than what the value they wanted for their business at the end of the day was. And so it's a better deal for us, better deal for them. Again, we didn't have to put any money down. Now we just took over a whole other business and have grown that way as well.
So. Okay, so how many businesses do you currently own right now?
I own an independent insurance agency, then several different real estate ventures, which is really more just one business entity in that sense. And then another business from a mastermind group for independent agencies for AI perspectives as far as helping them understand AI, how it's affecting their businesses or will affect their businesses.
Okay.
And kind of help them in that sense.
So
kind of three different.
You bought the mastermind group.
I built it kind of scenario.
Built that.
Yeah.
What was the business you just acquired?
That was an insurance agency.
All right, insurance agency. Yeah. Okay, so you basically ate them into your
correct
to build. Okay, to build. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. So I love just, and from the entrepreneur standpoint, especially in insurance, and that's nothing against insurance. There's a lot of people that have been around for a very long time. That and the financial services, I guess, in really financial services as a whole, right? We're talking insurance, we're talking CPAs, we're talking financial advisors. A lot of them have been around for a very long time, and there's a lack of people necessarily getting into that business or owning those businesses. For example, the average agency owner in America is 64 now, 64 or 65 years old. 2028, they expect, and I think this is, when I say these numbers for insurance, I've been told it's very common for a lot of the other industries out there. But average, by 2028, 50% of my insurance side of my jobs, owners and people who work, their staff, et cetera, are going to be at retirement age or retiring by 2028, with like 75% of them actually doing that by the end of the decade. And so you think about that, that's a lot of people, right? So I really see there's a consolidation going to happen, especially with AI, where, people have been doing business for the whole term. Like we've always done it this way, right? And so you got Janet, who's been at that person's office for 30 years, and everybody loves Janet, which is great. But like, we gotta, technology's moving, it's changing, the way we do business is changing, and it's going to change rapidly. I mean, we've had, they say the last 3 years, we've had more technology changes and where or in capabilities of what we're doing in the last 3 years is the same and equal to the last 30 previously, which is a crazy thing when you think about it. I mean, 30 years, we're talking really like internet, we're talking phones, type of scenario, this, that, or the other. Like the last 3 years is equal to the last 30, and it's only getting faster. And so because of that, I think a lot of people are now in a lot of different industries and a lot of different sectors realizing, hey, the way we've done our business is, I don't know how to do. You're 65, cool. So I would be the same way. I'm like, I don't understand AI. I don't understand how to do this. We've got a website, we've got email. We've just always done it in a phone. We've always just done it this way. But you're in marketing. Marketing's completely changed now in that sense. You got to have attention is where the game's at in that sense. And so they're just like, you know what? I think it's probably time I'm just going to hit retire type of scenario, which I like, more power to them type of scenario. And that's why I'm always like, call me, come like, let's have a conversation where I can point you in the right direction. But it's exciting, honestly, for those looking for the opportunity, right? I mean, you can look at the AI revolution going on right now and be pretty terrified, I'm sure, in one hand. On the other hand, okay, are you looking for the opportunity? Are you trying to pivot? Are you trying to adapt your skill sets to what's going to be needed, what's coming, et cetera. If you're doing that, you're going to be fine. But if I'm 65, 70, I'm like, yeah, I could see like I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to try to relearn everything all over again in that sense.
I mean, for me, I'm looking forward to AI to help my profit margins because I know right now there's a lot of labor costs that I pay out, like so much. And I would be so ecstatic for AI to just manage even like 30% of that because that's like, I'll pay a, $300-$400 a month subscription all day.
Yeah.
If it saves me 30 grand in my business. That's what AI does.
Oh yeah. I mean, so in that realm, I've been speaking a lot in this respect because obviously in insurance world, there's so many people just don't know that world at all and don't, it's just that old adage, they've always been like, well, we've always done it this way. However, where I'm building to between mostly my insurance type of business and real estate's just going to be there. It's more retirement. It's more spreading my investments out in that sense. But from the insurance side of things, it's, and this can be for any business, you look behind it at 2030. My vision is 2030. If you open the doors of my business, which happens to be insurance, it could be other things. You open the doors, in front of it says insurance. You open those doors. It's going to look like a technology and a marketing company. That's because I say it this way a lot. Where AI is going to take us is I'm a former musician. I was always in bands, traveling, this, that, or the other. But take an orchestra. And in an orchestra, you have all these different sections in the orchestra. And you've got a conductor. A lot of times a business owner or an entrepreneur has usually been the conductor of that symphony orchestra, right? They're kind of the ones getting all the parts to work together, all the people to kind of cohesively work together to create the song. And so I see a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners in this example as that. However, what AI is going to do is going to be exactly what you pointed to, which is the idea that I might not need, say, 5 violinists anymore. I might not, at the first iteration I might just need 1, but eventually it might be where I might just need a person who manages and becomes a micro conductor of that portion of the symphony that has to know the ins and out of the violin, the parameters of the violin, where the violin fits in with everybody else in the business type of scenario. But you might just need one person that's really just managing. And again, I'm saying that as a way of saying it's not an excuse not to know what the violin is supposed to do in that sense, right? It's not to say AI is just going to take it over entirely and you don't need to do anything. There's still some human aspects there, but you're going to become more of managerial roles. And that's why I think, like I said, we're going to see businesses become more and more of technology companies and marketing companies. And then there's just different conduits of what we're actually doing to make money, mine being insurance or whatnot. So,
yeah. Well, and every business should be a marketing company first. Like you should be a marketing company first and then. It's always that and then statement because I don't care how good your product is. No one knows about it. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can have the cure for cancer. You can never tell anyone it doesn't matter you have the cure for cancer. So that's where I like to tell people like you need to be on social media daily. You need to be running ads. You need to be like in AI and figuring out how can you automate these systems because that's your ROI. Think about how much ROI your employees bringing you. Really not that much most of the time. Like employees are great, but, and I'm not sure if you experience this, finding good talent is hard. And people are like, the job market's hard. I'm like, no, you're just not good. You're just not good at your job. So where have you found your talent? Like, where are you trying to find good talent right now?
And I think because I've always positioned myself to be very technology driven forward, that I've not had a huge issue necessarily finding talent. Like I think work ethic could be a little bit different because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of people just that are younger that finding somebody with good work ethic could maybe be harder versus somebody that's a little bit older. They might have good work ethic, but they just don't know how to use technology well and are not as adaptable in that sense. So, but I mean, you're talking about my industry and a lot of industries where they have had just people in those industries for 20, 30 years. There's a lot of value there I see when you can go in and like I said, a property that's kind of run down, et cetera, to do a value add. And you're like, okay, we can scale this back. We don't need somebody. Let's go ahead and you can retire. Let's scale this back. We can start operating at 5, 10x with the same amount of people or less now, and kind of improve the value of the business that we hopefully buy or are acquiring. But at the same time, from a talent standpoint, I'm realizing a lot of these people too, the reason they probably don't want to do it because they've still been operating as if it's 2001 and finding younger talent that does want to work, they then come in and are frustrated because we're like, what, we're just using still email type of scenario. And that's the case with AI that I really believe that by 10 years, I mean, we're going to mostly be using our voice for most things. I mean, it's going to be a scenario where like there's still human involvement, but I've heard Cody Sanchez, I don't know if you know her in that sense. My business partner actually had a conversation with her a couple months back, but I remember there's a video she said that like in 10 years she thinks like using the keyboard is going to be like using the typewriter. Just like you can use it, but like no one really uses it anymore as much type of thing. And that everything's going to go to voice. And so looking ahead to 10 years or 10 miles ahead type of scenario where we're at right now, I think is vitally important with, again, back to how quickly things are changing in the last 3 years compared to the last 30 is if you're not at least looking down the road of where we're headed, that's where you're going to get in trouble once we get to that spot, because you're going to be a lot further behind at that point. You're not behind yet, but if you're not paying attention and trying to learn right now. I'm like, for my business, I haven't integrated everything I want to integrate. There's a lot of stuff I haven't integrated yet, but I'm like learning. I'm figuring out. I'm playing. Most entrepreneurs and business owners, they're either on Google Workspace or they're on Google Workspace, or they're on Microsoft. And so both of those have Copilot or Gemini. Those are equal to or constantly catching up to ChatGPT type of scenario. And so I'm like, you already have this in your ecosystem. I mean, that goes for any business, right? They're all using one of those two usually. I'm like, you have that in your ecosystem already with the things you're already doing. You're already comfortable with these systems. You just need to become locked and loaded and learn these things, because it's going to be a huge part of what starts driving your business forward, that you've got to at least be playing around, learning, educating yourself on this if you're going to be ready for where we're headed here the next 5 years.
Yeah, especially the speed of tech. I mean, they just came out with a new update in my Tesla, and Grok is now embedded in my Tesla. Yeah,
which that's what I use usually just for answers. Like Siri sucks, honestly.
Siri's
so
bad.
I'm like, I have Grok on my speed button all because that's just that fast. But yeah.
But I could talk to it and be like, hey, where's the closest, restaurant? And it'll just take me there. I'll be like, all right, pull up directions, do full self-driving. Like,
oh, you got the full self-driving one?
I had the full self-driving. So
okay,
it'll just take me there. Like, you don't have to drive. And in my head, I'm like, dude, in 10 years, no one's going to drive anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's already so accessible. Like, the car's not that expensive. Like, you do the math.
Auto insurance will hopefully come down at that point. Honestly, it probably could.
Maybe not. We'll see.
If there is an equilibrium point where if at a certain point, a certain amount of drivers are doing it more autonomously, there will be a point where it becomes more and more safer.
Now, are you doing mainly auto insurance sales, or what's your
majority commercial stuff? I mean, we do home and auto. Everybody kind of has to do home and auto in that sense, so we do that for sure. But commercial is really where I come from. 10 years background of commercial sales and stuff like that. And commercial, if we're talking about technology, honestly, and this goes for any business, if you're a business to business type of business, I guess, those are always so relationally driven that it's going to be much harder to for AI to kind of truly take that over, versus if you're just selling home and auto insurance, which is great, but it's becoming more and more transactional, that side of it. People shopping you all the time, this, that, or the other. It's just like, we got it. Okay, cool. They don't stick with you. There's not much loyalty, but with commercial, there's a lot more of a relationship. They want to know who they're talking to. There's a lot more evident of true advising role that you're doing in those situations with whatever you're doing.
Now, you say commercial, are you saying commercial real estate, commercial?
All of it.
Okay. So like if like a large corporation needs insurance for their business, it's that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're right in 12 states type of scenario. So there'll be franchises. They got, this one person has restaurants all over, it's Texas, or not Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, or as an example, and so forth like that.
And then with insurance sales, you guys are technically counted as a broker. You guys be a broker. Okay. Because I have another buddy. His name's Caleb. Super young guy, super smart though.
Yeah, I think I saw him.
Yeah. He did like 5 million so far in like premiums. I mean, they're only like 4 or 5 months old. Yeah. So they're like crushing it, but they're only auto. Yeah. Like, that's like their only thing. And they partner with dealerships. They go into dealerships and like, hey, we're your guys. That's their whole model. I was like, this is sick. I was even asking him, like, because I love selling. I was like, can I like get it? Like, how do I get in on this? Because I have a marketing agency. And I'm like, dude, and they do no marketing outside of just like walking into businesses.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, like, and I have so many clients like that where I'm like, guys, you have a business doing $500,000, $1 million, $3 million a year with no marketing.
Yeah.
Like, I will pay you to let me do it. And then just give me commission on the back end for sales. But like, it's crazy how much people have done without technology. And if they stopped demonizing it, they would literally 10x their business overnight.
Yeah. And then, as you know, obviously the marketing aspect, and I know like, Facebook Meta ads, Google ads, they've kind of shrunk a lot of just the levers I think you can pull, because the AI is really just kind of
just algorithm,
right? The algorithm is just so capable of doing that, where they've really taken away a lot of levers you can pull manually yourself, right? Am I correct in that? I think.
Yeah.
So you know more about
all the
that
energy
than me.
now goes into making good creative
Yes.
and good follow-up sequences.
Content, but creative content. And that's where AI is going to reward you, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, getting organic. And plus you have to do a lot of market research. Like now, I don't spend any time doing all these weird back and stuff. Like I'll target certain zip codes. I'm like, okay, I don't really want to target this zip code. This is not for them. But outside of like zip code targeting, the algorithm will validate your content. If you make good content and it does well, a good way to do it too is post it on your feed. And if it does well on your feed, then run it as an ad. Because that just, it just proves it for you. Saves you a lot of money.
I mean, do you think most of it's crazy to me how Facebook's kind of like almost like rejuvenated itself in some ways. I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, that never really truly went away, but it seems like it's made a big push and come back again.
Well, I think people are realizing Facebook's such a money driver because people who have money are on Facebook a lot, and it's on Instagram too.
Sure, we're talking older generations, I guess. More on your Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. They're on Facebook.
That's true. Like narrowing down the demographic. We just did this in my office of like what platforms are usually the age type of scenario.
Yeah.
Like for my insurance stuff, like TikTok's probably not going to be a big breadwinner unless we're like targeting the kids who will show something to their parents or something like that, right?
Well,
there's like a weird angle there.
And there's different levels to all this stuff to it. And I try to explain to my clients because they'll work with us. And, you know, we're not like a super premium, like, oh, it's $30,000 a month to work with this agency. We're like, hey, we want a small business owner to be able to work with us. Like, that's who we like working with.
Yeah.
But they don't understand. They're like, oh, you know, Function Health or these like $10 billion businesses are doing this. I'm like, yes. And they're spending your entire revenue in a year on their ads. So it's not the same game because they have someone dedicated just for Instagram and they have a team on Instagram making different content than TikTok. So like they have teams for each social platform and they have a team for their Google ads and they have a team for their Meta ads. So there's probably about 30, 40 people working on just this. Mm-hmm. But that's how you do it at a high level.
And level of detail, the level of attention there. And that's a good point. That reminds me though too, like, you know, we're about to hit the $1 million revenue mark. Now that's different, obviously. In premium, when people say premium in our industry, it really means nothing because somebody could be getting commissioned at 6%. Others could be paying, you know, commercial, you get paid a lot more commission. And commercial, this, that, there. So a lot of times revenue should be the driver. So we're about to hit the $1 million revenue mark. And it's always been like a scenario of like, or a common thing. And I think it's going to be surprising to a lot of people when they hear that, like getting to $1 million revenue in a business is harder than getting to a $10 million revenue.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause that's just that first $100 million is just such a grind of just like figuring things out, really trial and error, hiring people, processes, repeatable processes. You're going to learn by failing and falling on your face type of scenario that it's a lot easier once you get to that million to then scale it to 10 million.
Yeah. For me, it was, I floated at like 10,000 really easily for a while. And then getting from like 10,000 to 70,000 a month was like the hardest thing ever. But now it's like the 7,000, like now it's just kind of easy. It's just kind of like rolling itself. It's like getting a snowball. Like you push a snowball down, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but it's like kind of hard to get the snowball going first.
Yes.
And that's where I found that it's scaling fast. But then you have to fulfill everything, and that annoys me.
There's always like, all right, there's always, I think as an entrepreneur, there's seasons of like really hitting the gas pedal, other seasons and stuff like either letting off slightly or just kind of hitting cruise. And I mean, personally for me and my business, we're on more of a cruise right now type of scenario. Like we can scale, but to continue scaling, we've got to lock in processes. There's a lot of things, like you said, the back end where you're like, if it's one person or a couple of people managing it all, that's cool. But if you're really going to scale, you got to build out processes where people are niched down in what they're handling. And again, like a symphony, you're all working together in a seamless way that makes basically the end result be the client had a good experience, an easy experience, and got what they needed without a lot of hiccups along the way in this sense. So,
Yeah. And with being a business owner, as you know, there's like, you have dream clients and you have clients that like take 80% of your effort and they're not worth 80% of your effort. And it's always that manage of like, do I tell them just, you know, eat shit or
and when you're a younger entrepreneur or newer business owner, you're like, well, I have to have this.
Yeah.
And so you're willing to kind of put up with some stuff, but then obviously you're growing, you're scaling. You're like, I don't need to put up with this type of scenario. And we have plenty of those scenarios happen where we're like, well, let's just let this client go. Cause this is exactly that point. You can usually find that 10 to 20% of your service scenarios or whatever that is, if it's not a truly service only based business, that it usually comes from the same type of people that, like, okay, if you can just start off figuring that out, finding those attention and be willing to kind of move on from them, it'll even help you even scale even faster again.
Yeah. What I've been trying to do is just like, I have a system in place and you're going to funnel in my system. And if you don't want to be in my system, we're not going to work together, because that's where it doesn't work well. Because I have a really good system for you coming in here, shooting content, getting my editors on it and posting it. Like, that's great. Now, if you're like, hey, I want to like look through everything and then proofread, like revisions, I don't have a system like a revision systems. Like, we're a speed agency. And learning that has been a great experience. Be like, okay, I know what I'm good at. I know what I can service well. And I know I don't need to do this other thing because someone else can do it well. Yeah. And people like work with me because I'm fast. Like, they value the speed. They don't want to have 20 revisions. And if you want 20 revisions, it's going to go crazy. I made this entire business to not do revisions on things all the time. It's not that deep on that front. Where have you guys been? Where are you guys putting a lot of your marketing dollars right now? Like, what's that looking like?
Honestly, the marketing dollar scenario is more of we've always just done, let's back up. When you're a smaller business of sorts, a lot of times you don't have necessarily the funds to do so. And so early on, it was always like, well, we started podcasts and stuff like that. It was like, well, that's almost like free. And a lot of times we've gotten carriers to sponsor some of the podcasts at a certain point. So it's almost like a net zero sometimes with like the actual cost. So we've done that just to generate a lot of just attention. And again, I go back to the Gary Vee thing, got to meet him actually a couple of years back. And the attention idea, like, that was a great place. We got to evolve from there, but that's what I just tried to do 3 years ago. I was like, well, attention, we can do that. That's basically free. So we haven't really truly actually spent money behind a lot of our stuff yet, outside of just like some of the stuff we have a studio, as well as just, again, the time to kind of have, an editor, part-time editor kind of do this stuff. Right. So that's really, and that's been all organic up to this point. So right now it's more of like, okay, we're trying to work on scaling and figuring out, more of a plan between, really being more attention to detail as far as planned videos rather than just kind of organic stuff off of conversations with our podcast. Still continue to do that because you're building relationships with people, which is why I love that. But really kind of putting an effort behind of like a true plan of like videos and content and platforms and stuff like that. So that way in 2026, we can really kind of begin to scale that out with our in-house person we just hired in that sense to do that. So again, back to becoming a marketing agency, like, there's great opportunities for people to work with you like that. And there's also, I think, people are going to realize I need a marketing person hired in my agency much sooner than you used to be, type of scenario, because of how vital that person is now in the future, and how you won't necessarily, because of AI, you won't need as many people to do the actual just work of the monotonous work that can come with things. So you're able to kind of pivot those dollars and be able to kind of pour it into marketing in a much earlier side of things as far as the size of your business. I think is going to be where we're headed.
Yeah. I think a lot of people too have been they're more open to the idea of outsourcing too. Because a lot of people used to like hate outsourcing. Like, I would never do it. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I built my entire business on outsourcing. Like, and it's all just lever pools at the end of the day. Like, if I get charged $10 for a reel and I charge you 30, that's my business model. Woohoo. That's all business too. I think you go to a restaurant, cost them $10 to make it, charge you 60, boom.
It's all time. It's either I don't know how to do it, or I could do it and you can do it a lot quicker.
Yep.
Or I don't want to do it anymore.
Most people don't want to do it. I mean, when I switched over my car insurance, it was like, that's such an easy sell. And especially in marketing, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is such an easy sell. Because you're going to someone and you're like, hey, what are you paying for insurance? Like, oh, $6,000 a month. And you're like, okay, you want to make it 4? They're like, what's the catch? There's none. Yeah. Like, great.
Which is why I got into it. I was like, oh, everybody has to have this and required to have this. And it's kind of inflation proof and recession proof. I was like, okay. I mean, a little bit about backstory. 7 years ago, I was not in insurance before I opened my agency. Do not recommend that at all. But I had 10 years commercial sales, running a side of business, and knocked on a few doors to kind of see if I could get into it, and went in with blind ambition. I'm glad I didn't know what I know now, because I probably would have gotten cold feet. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, let's do this. Like, something's got to change in my life. I'm very much a proponent of the idea of taking calculated risk, in that if for those that we look at all these different people out there that have succeeded or we see as hugely successful, they all took some kind of calculated risk and they paid off. And so there's a difference of, like, a wise man can still take calculated risks, but a foolish man takes thrills. And so there's a difference between just being stupid and taking thrills versus like taking some calculated risks to see which one, and just one of them, if they work, that's all you need. And you can continue to ride that thing And then from there, it's easier because, again, you've gotten to a certain revenue scale of whatever the business is. Then you can kind of pivot and do this business. And maybe, so you see business entrepreneurs just buying up businesses and like that. I got a financial advising buddy in the Lexington area there. And they just bought a roofing company in Ohio. Right? Just like, hey, here's an opportunity. I know how to do business. And they scaled that one. And so, I don't know. It's fascinating to see what people jump into after they can, but it's calculated risk usually that gets somebody to where they're at. And, like Nick Saban says, a lot of times I think is a huge thing I try to keep in my head too, is that mediocre people don't like high functioning, motivated people, and vice versa. High functioning, motivated people don't really like, mid type of non-motivated individuals. And I think that's very true. And so they kind of, I look at somebody sometimes, and I don't mean to feel bad, be mean, but sometimes you're just like, but you could do this, you could do this. Like, why are you not trying to do this type of scenarios? And the other people are like, oh, you're just trying to, be better than everybody else. And you're like, no, I'm just self-motivated to succeed type of scenario. And you're going to take calculated risk with that. And
it's because they're content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people just get content. And I'm really big in I like philosophy. I like
psychology. Do you think it's content, or you think it's like, just again, a lack of self-motivation or fear? I think fear is the big part.
Well, people are always, I say people are either running away from something or running towards something.
Okay.
So you're doing one of the two.
Yeah.
And the more you're going towards the other, like, I know I'm driven a lot by fear. There's certain things in life I just never want ever.
Yeah.
So that's why I work so hard. I'm like, I never want to be poor. Like, I never want to have these things.
Yeah.
Like, I never want to worry if I'm going to have money or not. And that's like a big driving factor for me.
Yeah. Fear is definitely a driving factor for some. And so it's more of, I guess, you can do it in a positive way, like you're saying, or it could be the fear of like, oh, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that headache or the time or energy it's going to take type of scenario. So I think you're right. The internal motto with for me, and then we've implemented into my agency, is just the idea of born fearless. And had a guy on the podcast that was talking about, and not an original to him, but that some people will say and someone will say that we were only born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Everything else is learned fear. And so the idea of born fearless, kind of just trying to adopt that even internally with my mindset of like, I wasn't born with this stuff. Like, I don't have to be afraid of this sense. And if I can just get back to the way I was originally born, which is like, I only had two fears: fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Let's get back to that and not be afraid to fall on my face and get back up and be honest. And I think we're in a culture now where a lot of people are more open to honesty and not having to hide the feelings as much, right? I just made a post this week, honestly, and it was just kind of saying, hey, there's a lot of just weight on my shoulders, didn't really realize it. And I was just, something was off with me type of scenario. And it kind of just, my wife was kind of like, what's wrong with you? What's going on type of scenario. And I just sat there for like 15 minutes and didn't even say. I was like, I don't even know how to put it into words. Maybe that's a guy thing too. Like, we try to we try to take care of problems and be problem solvers instead of the other, a lot of times the way we're wired. But it just eventually came out, it was just like, I don't know. I was like, there's just been a lot, not necessarily on my plate, and that's normal, right? It's normal for us to have a lot on our plate. But I was like, there was just a lot of those just kind of weighting me down from a heaviness, kind of like sitting on my shoulders. And I think it was from the sense of like, I can't do it all kind of scenario. And really just saying that to her was a self-realization for me, that it was like the next day I was back after a week of that. The next day, nothing really changed, but it was like all of a sudden I was just like, that's okay. Like, and it's okay to say that out loud. And saying it out loud was honestly the healing I needed, I think. That the next day I was like back to it and like, all right, let's go. I was back to being motivated, this, that, or the other. But it can be a lonely island as an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
Very lonely island. And I realized early on, a couple years back to the book, that was like, I saw some people doing things in a team's perspective with other owners. And I was like, you know what? I've done this for 6 years as a solopreneur. I was like, I think I'd be much happier thinking 10 years down the road if I was doing with somebody in a team. And a lot of guys were built to do things shoulder to shoulder, right? They say girls want face to face. Guys, we just want to do we don't need to have lots of deep discussion necessarily, but I just want to hang out. We're just shoulder to shoulder. Let's watch the game. Let's so, that kind of idea. And I was like, I'd much rather happier, I think, doing this with somebody and having a bigger piece of or a smaller piece of a much bigger pie rather than the whole pie. And so that's when we kind of went out and started figuring out, I need an integrator in my business, and found that guy. I had known him actually for 6 years, and it kind of worked out, and it's been a huge blessing and a huge, I don't know, it just makes it more, it's just when you get, because as a solopreneur too, or when you're a business owner, you're kind of, and when I say the island, like, you can't really confide in your employees. They don't see it the same way. They're, in that sense, they see things very differently than us. And it's not their baby. That's just their job a lot of times, which is fine. And they go home and they're done. When you're an entrepreneur, like, there's no vacations. So you just get to take trips, but there's no vacations. You're always on. There's always something. And we've chosen that. But it can be a lonely island. And so that's why, sometimes being okay with be like, I'm going to partner with someone and bring somebody on type of scenario, because being honest with yourself of what I'm not good at and what someone else could be a whole lot better at, which is maybe fractionally having a marketing side of things for sure too. But I was like, this is going to be much more exciting to partner with somebody and do this together for where the vision is. And what got you also to $1 million revenue, it's also not going to be the same thing that gets you to a $10 million revenue type of business. So again, we've always done it this way. It's got to be adaptable for sure.
Yeah. The mental bandwidth of being an entrepreneur is hard to explain to someone who's never owned something, because you have an owner mentality and then you have I'm just fitting into a system mentality. And I've never liked that. I hate having a boss. It just doesn't work. Like, I have to be able to make my own calls or I go start going crazy. And you try to confide in, like, you're right, you can't confide in your employees because they're going to start losing faith in the business or whatever. And I even find it hard to, confide in a partner or somebody, because it's like, well, then they're going to start questioning. I love people. People are great. Everyone kind of has it out for themselves. Because if you're a partner and you're confiding in somebody and you're like, hey, and they start thinking, oh, is the business going to do good? Like, they start thinking that. And there's so much of that, like, constant worry of like, okay, as a guy, if I truly confide, people aren't going to be as confident in my ability. And I don't think they really care, because people really want to see the best for themselves at the end of the day, which is fine. I get it. I want the best for me. Like, I don't have any, ill will on that front, but it's that back and forth of like, all right, you say be emotionally vulnerable, and then we're that, and then you're mad that we are, and you're like, what's the right move?
Yeah. I mean, it takes the right partner in that sense for sure. There was something there that I was going to say, and it's, again, back to being honest with yourself though. If you're not honest with yourself, like, you can be honest with other people all the time as far as them maybe, but being honest with yourself is a hard lesson to learn. I'm not good at this. I am not the best. Somebody could be much better, or I dropped the ball on this type of scenario. But the other thing, I said he's got a major podcast, and he had an article that was great this week, and we're talking about the fear thing, but he said also a lot of times the fear is not the fear itself or the failure. It's the guilt that we often get plugged with, in that, I made a mistake, that's on me type of scenario is different from like, it's my fault, versus actually living with guilt is kind of more like, oh, I'm the problem type of scenario. And a lot of times that can be, from an entrepreneur side of things, a dark path to kind of go down. If you start having negative thoughts of like, I am the problem type of scenario, and that fear has been more from the not being vulnerable, but the emotional ramifications, and just not regrets, but I can't, words escaping me right now in that sense, but the embarrassment, the word I'm trying to think of is embarrassment, but just like you're more afraid of the embarrassment than it is, because like you can make a mistake and not be embarrassed. You're like, oh, well, okay, my bad. We're gonna move through this. But if your fear is embarrassment type of scenario, that's what holds most people back. That's what holds most people back from video content creating and stuff like that, right? Like getting on a camera. It's weird. It's awkward. It's vulnerable. You could look stupid.
Yep. It's funny when you think about, because being an entrepreneur means you kind of got to be a little wacky, in a sense of like, you don't care what anyone thinks, and you're like super confident in yourself. I think Alex Mosey has a great saying of like, entrepreneurs think they're kind of better than everyone else. They have like these things, and I'm like, it's true.
They are betting on themselves.
They're betting on themselves. They have some kind of complex where they're like, I got to do good, which is fine. And like I said, being honest with yourself, it's like, yeah, you know, I definitely am a little happy that like I'm just more successful than most people my age. Like it's fun. Like I like doing that. I don't think I'm a better human being. Like we're all going to the same place. Like I'm very aware of like we're all going to die at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's fun being really good at what you're doing. And even then, really good isn't good. So it's kind of like I can infinitely be better, because I think I would go crazy if I like made it. Like if I was like, okay, I got it. My brain
the journey is the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a place of wisdom I've learned, is like, it's not about, like you said, you get to that point. You're like, if you were just handed and gotten all the way, you know, you play a Donkey Kong 64 and jump in the mine cart and go past the mine cart over into, and then it spits you out basically at the end and you're done. You're like, okay, cool. I've defeated the level. But like, there's no real satisfaction in that of like actually going through the whole thing and the journey itself. And that feeling of like, I succeeded is at the end after going through that is the whole thing. That is the thing. That's what we as humans, like, we were built for kind of like adversity. But leaning into what I was going to say there is that kind of like choosing your hard. Like you can choose. It's different when it's someone else's hard, but when you, like a lot of times entrepreneurs, we choose like, oh, this is actually easier because it's my hard. It's my job. It's my baby. It's my business. It's a different level of stress that I would honestly, a lot of times it's easier than you're dealing with someone else's hard. If that makes sense, or problems.
Yeah, well, it's a control thing, I feel like, where it's like, okay, I have control over my mess ups.
Yeah.
And it's not like I have to worry about someone else being in control of my mess ups. Like I want to have accountability, because I love Gary Vee. Like I grew up watching him like daily in high school and like I think middle school too. So I have a lot of his ideologies baked into me, if they're good or bad. But I remember I just have a clear quote. He's like, dude, if I walked outside and got hit by a car, I would blame myself, because he's like, I decided to walk outside. It's like an extreme level of accountability. And I tell a lot of people that, and they're like, and they go in the mindset of like, oh, you're probably really hard on yourself. And I'm like, no. I never blame anyone for anything. Like it is always my fault 24/7. Which, you know, mentally, I'm not sure is the best thing ever, but it's helped me be really successful. Because like if something goes wrong, I'm like, great, let's fix it. Yeah. And I can fix it. I've never been in a position where I'm thinking, oh, I can't fix something.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, I learned early on too, with like employees and stuff like that. I'm like, don't just blame them for everything. Like, okay, there's a mistake here. Is there some kind of process, something I can set up to kind of prevent this? Like I'll take ownership that, okay, I didn't set you up for full success. If there's a process, here's the things, how it's supposed to be done, and you've been trained, et cetera, and you're still choosing not to, okay, that's more of a you problem now type of scenario. But I think first step of being a leader, I mean, you talk about being a leader and culture. I think culture is going to be a huge thing. And I talk about that a lot as far as, and I really think about that a lot within my business, in that, you know, I think Gary Vee's talking about this in like 10 years. Maybe there's jobs where people just get hired to go take a walk with somebody for human interaction, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that hit me. I'm like, that's true. Like in 10 years, we're going to be like, what does it mean to be human? Maybe 5, we're going to start that, because, you know, it's like how many of the videos right now are already AI stuff, et cetera. And we're going to not know if it's AI or if the avatar of some real human here pretty soon. But what is it going to mean to be human? I mean, I have kids, 8, 5, and 8, and 11. And I'm like, what is life going to be like for when they're graduating type of scenario, right? So what is it going to mean to be human? And I think there's going to be a huge aspect of like, we're desired, humans are built for community at the end of the day. Like living out on an island by yourself, like it could be the most beautiful place ever, but eventually you're just like,
everything gets old after a while.
I want to share this with somebody kind of scenario. And that's why I brought on my business partner type of scenario. But from that point, sense of community, I'm like, people are going to start choosing jobs based upon the fact that it's a cool culture, that it's like fun. There's, you know, the culture there is better than just sitting and not never really talk to people. You know, we've had a lot of people go to work from home for obvious reasons over the last 5 years. But I think there's starting to be a lot more people I'm talking to. They're like, yeah, I'm over that. Like it was cool for a while, but you realize you're like missing out. I'm not getting out. It's like you're missing interactions with people type of scenario. I think culture is going to be a huge part of that, what it means to be human from a business entrepreneur standpoint. And so finding places like that still have human jobs, I think if I can do that right, I'm not going to have any problem hiring as well if we come back to that full circle moment there on
Yeah.
that.
No, the culture is huge. And that's always something where I'm still figuring out what good culture looks like, because I take the Mr. Beast mentality of like work until you want to get sick and you just pass out for a few days. And that's just how I've always functioned.
Sure.
That's how I like it. And I plug people into that system and they just don't work with that. And I'm like, okay, how can I figure out how to get like a super hardworking environment that has high payoffs, but it's really exciting. And I'm like, all right, how do we get all these things in a package? And then how do I communicate that to them? It's kind of like you always give way better advice than you can actually do for yourself. Like I can always tell my clients how to market, how to do everything way better than I can do it for myself sometimes. Because I'm like, but I gotta think about it. So it's almost like I need someone to say it back to me after I say it to them, be like, okay, yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
And just give them the credits for the implementation of it.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, it makes it exciting for me. And like I said, if you create a cool space, like you create good opportunity and team events and a place where we hold each other accountable and also successes. Because I think that's another scenario. I think that can break down culture and friendships really quickly when people don't celebrate each other's successes. Because again, they're now back to the fear. What about guilt? Like, what about me? How's this making me look? Kind of scenario. And that we're always kind of looking at ourselves in that sense. But if we can kind of look at it in a more broader sense and celebrate the successes of our teammates and stuff like that and build that culture, I think that's where you can really thrive, because then it becomes more about the team and the family that you have there at the business than the individual. So it's hard. It's not easy to get there. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but that's what I'm building towards. And you have to have the right people, I think, in place for a good foundation of doing that. And you know, a lot of people have said the whole hire slow, fire fast, but I'm kind of more in especially these days, I don't know if that works, because finding good help is hard. So I've become more of the hire fast, fire fast scenario. Like, okay, you usually will know within just like a week or two kind of scenario if someone's going to be a good fit type of scenario. And so now I say that because I have a business partner who's able to play bad cop, because I'm not a good bad cop kind of scenario. So if you're not a good bad cop, that doesn't really work either. Or you need somebody that can play bad cop. But
that's what I say, is that I'm not a fan of confrontation. I don't like it. Which is good on a service-based aspect, because like I'm all about pleasing the customer.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, anything ever happens with an employee or something, I'm just like I'm so bad at confrontation. I had a whole business that I built up to $500,000 a year, and I walked away from it because I was like, I just don't want to deal with the fallout of that. I was like, I tried, and I was like, hey, and they're like, all right. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I can make money another place. This isn't worth a 5-year lawsuit.
Yeah. You can choose your hard. It's like, And
Choose your
so
hard.
when you're in a place of being able to choose your hard, that's a cool place to be in for sure. And realize like, no, I get to choose this hard or not choose this hard.
Yeah. It's always funny because sometimes people, I'm not sure if you've seen this, people get more mad for you than you get mad at yourself. Like something happens in business, someone's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And you're like,
yeah,
okay,
it's life.
So what?
Yeah.
Like it's good. Life's going to keep on happening. I could be dead.
Could be dead.
Could be dead.
There's that whole video, you've seen it, where someone's like, all right, I'm going to give you $1 million. And you're like, would you take it? They're like, yeah. Like, here's the only stipulation. You don't get to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're like, okay, how much is $1 million worth type of scenario? Like, waking up next day and choosing your heart or choosing who you get to go interact and work with. And those things are going to be what's going to be driving the next decade or so as far as true human interaction, the workspace, how AI is going to take over a lot of stuff. And I think to wrap that part up in a bow, it's going to happen faster than people anticipate. The internet took a while for people to kind of get there and adopt. It's going to happen. It's not going to be that. It's going to be much, much, much faster.
Well, yeah, because like you were saying earlier, it's like 10 years took 10 years of progress. Now, 9 years, you still get 10 years of progress. And it keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And eventually we'll get to 3 days is 10 years of progress. And we'll be like, oh my gosh, what is...
Yeah, because we're moving from generative AI right now. It has been the main thing we've known since, November 2022-ish, when it kind of ChatGPT 3.5 launched. And now we're moving into what's called agentic AI. And for those that don't know, that is going to be where more of the AI is able to kind of make decisions. It's not just spitting things back out to you. You're giving a task and it's making decisions and able to do things. A preview of that is the idea of, there's comment by Perplexity. I think Perplexity. And there's the ChatGPT just launched a browser. Did you see that?
Yep.
And so I had family hacking on that thing a couple of months back, so I knew it was coming out, actually, legally hacking. But yeah, I mean, so it's the idea of the browser. You can just tell it what to do, and it can start taking over your mouse and moving the mouse around your screen, this, that, the other, and doing exactly what you need to do, and so forth like that. And like, that's the aha moment when you're like, oh crap. Like, if you're not used to it or hadn't been ready for it, you're like, oh, this is what they mean by AI. It's not just spitting out some kind of cool story based upon your prompt injection. It's actually go out and do things on websites or the MCP protocol connectivity to APIs and so forth like that. I can nerd out on all that, but it's that's why you at least got to be paying attention or have somebody around you.
Well, it's like all coders. Like I have all my website design is all AI. Like I've never had to code anything, and I can do API integrations. I can do whatever I want on the back end, and it builds it. It looks better, and it's faster than anyone else could ever do it.
Who you used for that?
It's called Orchestra.app.
Okay.
So that's the AI for that. And then there's another company called Ace, and Ace is what you just said. It will take over your mouse. Yeah. And I was like, how can I apply this to video editing? So I always have it running on my computer, and it just learns, and it just keep learning 24/7. And right now it's not good, but I also know AI is going to like 10x the next 6 months.
That's the other thing. It's only as bad as it's going to be right now.
Yeah.
I think people need to be like very aware of, well, that's not that great. I'm like, yeah, that's way better than it was. And it's only going to be as worse as it is right now. It's only going to continue to scale quickly, much better.
Because it keeps learning. Like you just got to think of AI as like a child. Like it's just growing up. And AI is like how old now? Like when ChatGPT first come out?
I mean, as far as from the common person, yeah, it was like November 2022. It was when or 2021, one of the two.
Yeah,
like
it's like 4 years old, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
I want you to talk to a 4-year-old and tell me who's smarter, human or AI.
Yeah.
Like let's get AI when they're 45, and dude's going to be the wisest human who ever existed.
And to your business point, it's going to be able to allow the mundane to not have to be done by a human anymore. And I mean, I'm in insurance and stuff like that. And so at the end of the day, like people want to know they have a person they can talk to. If crap hits the fan with their business, especially, what do I do? How can I help? And then so like, here's what we've got. They don't want to talk to somebody. I mean, we're going to have AI answering our phone here probably next year. I was kind of waiting for some other connectivities before I really kind of turned that on. It was not quite there. You could kind of still tell. But I'm like, okay, that's going to be cool. But then you need a real human. You know, you can get a real human type of scenario. And we're going to be able to then better utilize our human time to kind of actually connect with like, again, we're built for connection as from a human standpoint of reassuring or really kind of explaining something in a real-time moment, especially when there's a problem type of thing. So allow us to really kind of do what we're better at, which is more of a human connectivity portion that the AI will never truly be able to do. And so I think we're going to be able to do kind of better shine in that way with our skill sets than just having to do mundane tasks and moving information from this system to this system and things like we've been doing for 10, 20 years now with the internet. So
yeah, you gotta think about your process. It's like for me, someone comes in, I have to make an account in my CRM, and then I send an invoice, and then I make sure they're in the Slack channel, and you have all the things like onboard somebody. It's like, imagine you just click a button, and like you have an intuitive AI that just knows that's what you want to do. You're like, great. Don't have to like follow up all this. And then you get rid of, probably 50% of your workforce if they're not into learning AI. And that's why I tell everyone, I'm like, if you want to have a future-proof job, just learn AI.
Oh yeah. I mean, so there's a big aspect of that. And I'm telling people a lot when I'm speaking that there's a shift happening. And if you can at least understand the shift and counteract the shift, you'll be fine. Shift being impossible jobs are going to be now the hard jobs. Hard jobs are now be the easy jobs. And the easy jobs will basically be, for the most part, obsolete.
Yep.
So if everything's shifting that way, like saying shifting left, impossible to hard, hard to easy, easy to pretty much non-existent, what do you need to do? Like if you're in a hard job, if you don't shift at all and your skill sets and adapt back over, you're now going to be in an easy job scenario. So that's what your white collar job, middle class job was. It's not a middle class job anymore. You got to shift your skill set back or become valuable in that sense to kind of move back into that hard type of label there. So the World Economic Forum put out a kind of big chart as far as the different skill sets of sorts or different types of jobs that are going to still be needed, kind of like not as much needed, low volume, up the top right part of it was kind of the best scenario, right? And it was things like the bottom left was more like math and writing. I mean, that is not an excuse. And I tell my wife, my wife was a teacher, and she's like, well, math and writing, go. I was like, yeah, you still need to know it. You still need to understand it and be able to critically think. I'm still teaching my kids math and writing. But will I need to sit there and know how to, will I need to actually have the skill set of being able to play the violin at a concerto level type of thing? No, but because the AI can do that maybe. But being adaptable was one of the highest parts of that graph. Adaptable, being able to shift and being able to be flexible. And so if we can just kind of keep that mindset of being able to, again, stop saying, oh, we've always done it this way, then you're going to be fine. And if you're paying attention in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where can people find you? Where can they work with you if they want to see you and all that?
Yeah. My business is novainsurancegroup.com, NOVA. Has to do with my former music days there. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Landry Fields, Landry Fields _ on Instagram. And we have, like I said, podcasts, but a lot of content. We're always there for having conversations. If we can help people with their businesses, awesome. That's what we do. And my business partner I'm grateful for was 10, 12 years as a commercial underwriter, commercial risk control, et cetera. So we bring a lot of different perspectives of values on this side as far as an agency that you normally do not get necessarily, because you're kind of getting the carrier side of things as well, and kind of upfront knowledge as in that sense. So yeah, reach out anytime. If anybody wants to connect with me, and happy to have a conversation. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. It was great having you on.